Yo, we just got an absolutely massive info drop on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. You guys gotta see this. What's up guys, I'm Blue Monkey and welcome to Capture the Frag, the channel dedicated to giving you only the most interesting in shooter game news. So if you're bored with the current shooter meta, join me on my journey to 1,000 subscribers where I'll be talking about all the upcoming games that are making big moves in the shooter genre. Today we're talking about Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and this info drop comes in the form of a GameSpot interview posted just a few days ago. We've got details on character creation, build crafting, mechanics, and it's all very Dungeons and Dragons inspired. So I'm gonna go over each point briefly, give my thoughts on the way, not that you care, but if you wanna check out the original article, it will be linked in the description alongside some other cool stuff if you wanna check that out. So let's get started. So first of all, the character creator. So if you didn't know, you don't pick a pre-made character, you actually make your own, and you actually customize your race, your appearance, your voice, and your personality. So here's a quote from that interview. Your voice, your appearance, and all of that is independent. You get to choose your own voice and some other fun stuff that we can't quite dive into yet, but it goes into even your character's personality, not just aesthetics, and it's all independent. You can look and sound however you want within those set of choices. We don't really tie the player into any one thing. Not even every feature is humanoid. You can even have shark fins on your head or look like an orc. And these are all independent of each other. So you could have a super high pitched voice and just be this giant shark man. So I think character customization is gonna be absolutely off the chain in this game. Not even all the details have been released yet. And appearance is gonna be separate from skills and abilities, which for me is really nice. They're trying to give you the freedom to express your look and your playstyle however you wanna do it. And speaking of which, let's talk skill trees. So there's gonna be 6 unique classes, each with their own skill tree. They also confirmed that later into the game, you can multi-class. Quote, you'll choose your primary class and then later in the main story, you'll be able to slot a secondary class and mix and match those 2 classes and skill trees. That's your character for the campaign. But once you beat the plot, you'll be able to go back and respec your secondary class. So you'll still have to stick with your primary class, but you can try a different secondary. And like I said, this is a very D&D concept. Any RPG player is gonna be familiar with combining 2 classes, but it's dope to see it in a shooter game. And again, allowing you to respec after the campaign is a good move in my opinion. It makes your secondary class choice meaningful while also giving you that freedom once you beat the story. But check this out too. Your ability to shape your character doesn't end there. There's more to do beyond the skills you unlock via your primary and secondary classes. You also have hero points to spend as well in very classic Dungeons and Dragons attributes. And those all speak to different things like melee attribute or a spell attribute or a skill cooldown attribute. It's like a character sheet. So you get to spend these hero points into strength, dexterity, intelligence, wisdom, constitution, and attunement. Now there's also a luck system built into the endgame where the more challenges you do, the better your luck gets and the better your loot gets. They didn't say too much about it, but I just hope that this isn't going to hint at a repetitive grind or a system that's just too straightforward and boring. But I will let you guys know if any new info gets released. If you don't want to miss those update videos, be sure to drop a sub and hit that bell so that you get notified. So let's talk about the story. This is actually the one thing that's not super RPG leaning, funny enough. GameSpot says the story itself is not reactive. It's like Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, where it's just Tina playing out the plotline, so it's a linear storyline. And it is a direct sequel to Assault on Dragon Keep. So Tina's gonna be 13 again, not 20 like in Borderlands 3, so it's definitely gonna be the crazy and chaotic version that we all like. And so if you're completely unfamiliar with the story, you're basically playing an in-game version of Dungeons and Dragons called Bunkers and Badasses, and Tina's the Dungeon Master. And that's basically the overarching plot, and this is actually a perfect segue to a very strange choice that the team made. Some of the story actually takes place in this weird third-person cartoony overworld. I'm just gonna break down this quote because they word it kind of weird. They say we call it the overworld. So one of the ways that you can explore the greater world is through this pulled back third-person view. Okay, so it says one of the ways that you can explore the greater world. Does that mean it's optional? I'm not sure. It also says we have a fairly linear main plot with tons of side missions. In addition, with some exploration, you can find these 5 optional maps that, if you're a tabletop RPG nerd, act like modules, so they are connected to the main story, but they are also their own standalone plots. So that kind of makes me think that this third-person overworld is only pertaining to those 5 optional maps, but then they go on to say you have dynamic encounters. So you can have a little enemy pop up, and then you'll get transported seamlessly into first-person combat, where you'll do a small fight, get your loot, and then pop back out to further explore the entire overworld, which Actually, I'll get into my thoughts in just a second. So the last sentence, they say, so Overworld really just acts like, compared to previous games we've done, as the big zone that connects all of the experiences. So that makes me think that it doesn't just pertain to those 5 little maps. Let me know what you guys think down below. I personally really like this idea, whether it's in the entire game or just in those 5 maps alone, but I do know that this is probably gonna divide the community. Let me know what you guys think down below. Are you for this? Are you against it? They they do assure us that fundamentally it still plays like a Borderlands game, which I think some people will feel relieved to hear. But moving on to the movement mechanics, they have been tweaked and updated to flow more smoothly with the spellcasting and melee attacks in the game as well. And as you can see, the spellcasting looks really clean. It doesn't look out of place at all. I think they actually did a really good job here. And it's basically Borderlands 3 style movement, fast paced, you got the slide, you get the ground pound, but they've also added a new melee movement mechanic that sounds honestly kind of broken. They say if you're just outside melee range when you melee attack, you will glide into your enemy. It's like an auto glide, so you can sprint and slide in like in Borderlands 3, and then if you melee at the end of your slide within the right distance of an enemy, you can continue gliding straight into the enemy and close the distance in a really fun way. It's as satisfying as it looks. To the right are a couple videos on two of my most anticipated upcoming shooters. Boundary is basically COD in space, and it actually looks good. And Bright Memory Infinite is an indie arcade FPS that you would not believe is being made by only one guy. So check those out if you're interested. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.